Jay, top 5. I have a feeling we have the same 5 names then. If this is what we had 10 through 6, it's just the order, which is interesting.
Okay.
Let's go to our number 5s. Who do you have at number 5?
He has to anoint himself first, and I think that's going to have a lot to do with showing up in big games. Number 5 for me is Paolo Banchero.
I have Paolo at 5.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool.
Okay,
Cool.
cool. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, you know what? I thought that was going to be a bit more controversial with putting Paolo at 5.
No,
Okay, cool.
He's just a guy that, I mean, you look at last season, I've had to focus on the Orlando Magic pretty heavily for some work that I've been doing recently.
Yeah.
And something that stood out to me was last season they had 7 nationally televised games, and they were 1-6 in those games. This was a team that was obviously really banged up last year. Paolo missed time, Franz missed time, Jalen Suggs missed time. It was a really banged up year for the Orlando Magic last season, right?
Bad.
But 1-6 in nationally televised games is not great when 3 of those matches were against the Cleveland Cavaliers and the New York Knicks, and you got blown out one of them games by 30-something and one of them games by 40. Tough situation where you put yourself in a bad spot where you have to ask yourself, if you can't show up against some of the best teams in the Eastern Conference, I can't anoint you as anything better than the 5th best player, even though we know this is a guy that has a chance to be a real MVP candidate this upcoming year with the kind of success Orlando could be staring at. But until he shows it to me, I got to cap Paolo at 5 because I can't give him too much more grace until I see it from him first.
Need a deeper playoff run. Need him to stay a bit more healthier. Need to see just overall improvements of being the number 1 guy, and also just like seeing more from him as more of an off-ball guy as well. And I think like now we're gonna see more of that with the addition of Desmond Bane, who's gonna be having the ball in his hands a lot of time. Yes, he's great off-ball, but he's gonna have to share more of the load. Paolo Banchero is with Franz, with Jalen Suggs, and all that. I feel like with Paolo Banchero, he has gotten himself into a situation with the Orlando Magic where he's clearly going to be the number 1 guy going forward, and he's shown to be a really good number 1 guy. He showed that he's a multiple-time All-Star. We've seen him be in like all NBA scenarios. Even this past playoff run even though we say that the Orlando Magic are not the greatest offense, he hasn't been able to lead them fully. He hasn't had the best efficiency, but even this past playoff run, he was pretty damn good. The only problem is the Orlando Magic were ass. That's the only problem in terms of their offense not clicking. But that's also a testament to Paolo Banchero, where he needs to get his guys more involved. He needs to be not just getting his stuff off, but also being able to make sure he gets the others going. Make sure he gets them better. And I think that's why I just need to see more of Paolo Banchero, and we need to see a bit more of the playoff success. I think he's going to be I still think he's going to be an all-NBA level player, but seeing what the other guys have on top of him, being able to fit into a role, being elite in that certain role, and especially being on these top-end playoff teams, puts Paolo Banchero just a little bit lower than them.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what Paolo does next season with the kind of spacing he's going to be able to get, right? Obviously, you get a healthy Jalen Suggs back. You bring in Desmond Bane, high-level three-point shooter.
Needed badly.
Yeah, Tyus Jones, you bring him in. You get Jace Richardson in the draft as well. These are all guys that shoot anywhere between 38 and 40% from beyond the arc, both off the dribble, off the catch, and from the corners. So you look at what Paolo Banchero has been able to do over the last handful of seasons, and more in particularly dating back to his rookie season, and it kind of improves from there. This is a guy who's been shooting anywhere between 7 to 8 free throw attempts per game since his rookie season, with more spacing in the court being even more open because of the fact that you have to respect these shooters now. How much more dangerous can he be as a guy that gets to the line? Can he beat Shai Gilgeous-Alexander level, if not better, in terms of being able to get free throws off? Because if he gets to that level of, we're talking 8, 9, 10 free throw attempts per game.
Just asserting his dominance, yeah.
We're talking about a guy who could be anointed as the new most physical power forward in the game behind Giannis Antetokounmpo over a guy like Zion Williamson, who used to be that guy we used to always kind of throw in that conversation as the most imposing force in the league behind Giannis at the power forward position.
Yeah, we both have a number 5. Again, I was surprised. I thought that you were going to have him a little bit higher, but we both have Paolo over there. Who do you have at number 4?
At number 4, we have your dog, Pascal Siakam.
Okay, this is, I think, where we might have a little bit of an interchange here. At number 4, I have Evan Mobley.
Okay.
I have Evan Mobley number 4. Talk to me about Pascal Siakam, though.
So Pascal Siakam, I put him at 4 here. He's a guy who I think just showed off a lot over the last 2 seasons with Indiana in a way that I think he didn't even get a real chance to express with Toronto as a ball handler more than anything. I think it's been really important that the Indiana Pacers have been able to feature him more as a guy that you can get things off in transition with them playing so up tempo. They're gonna need him to be better as an offensive initiator with the ball at the top of the key this season. With the fact that Tyrese Halliburton isn't going to be their point guard, and Andrew Nembhard I don't think pushes the pace the way Tyrese Halliburton does, not just because of the passing acumen, but also I just think the ability to get Pascal Siakam the ball in certain spots in the fast break is going to be different. So Pascal's going to have to be better at initiating offense in a real way. I think he has the capability of doing that. And so I put him at 4 here because at the end of the day, I don't think we've seen him as the man just yet for a squad. And I think that given his skill set, he falls more into the Swiss Army knife category, but he's damn sure one of the best Swiss Army knives across any position, and that's why I think he got slotted at a perfect spot here around like 4.
Oh no, 100%. And then for me, talk about Evan Mobley real quick. He won Defensive Player of the Year, elite defensive player, and we talked about Mobley. We needed him to take that offensive jump. He did. He did. Now is it like a 20-10 sort of guy? Is he going to be, a 22-13 like we project him to be, the prime Tim Duncan? Maybe, maybe not. But he's an elite defensive player. He's found his spot, and Kenny Atkinson has very much empowered him to be a more aggressive offensive guy as well, and taking a bit more 3-point shots, being able to handle the ball in transition. Like we talked about a lot last year. We talked about him making those decisions in the open court, which he's doing pretty good at. He's definitely improving. But he's going to be such a key for the Cleveland Cavaliers in taking that next step if they really want to be considered a title contender, the true number one in the Eastern Conference. Because you look at a lot of the other like the top teams that over the last few years, they've had that rim protector guy, but they also need to provide good work on the offensive end. And I think Evan Mobley improving there, and then hopefully this is just the start of him improving on the offensive end and including just more and more to his game. He's finally realizing that potential. I do have him just slightly below Siakam, but it's nothing against Evan Mobley. I think he's going to continue to get better. Eventually, he's going to be like in the top 2 of the list once the other guys start to like grow out of it. You know what I mean? So seeing number 3, 4 instead of number 3, not too big of a difference.
So Pascal is your 3 and Evan Mobley is your 4?
Yes, and I'm assuming Evan Mobley's your 3.
No.
Oh, okay. So I have a feeling who your number 3 is then. Okay, who's number 3?
So my number 3, and I'm hoping this isn't a positional discrepancy, is Anthony Davis.
Okay. He's my number 2.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So the real debate here is Evan Mobley versus Anthony Davis at that rate.
For you, okay, yeah.
So because I have Anthony Davis at 3, and this is one of those where I kind of gave Anthony Davis the Zion Williamson pass to a certain extent here, right? Because I think in different circumstances, you might have to actually bump AD down a little bit because of the win healthy tag. But AD has started to show a little bit of a decent track record over the last 2 to 3 seasons of being able to be a little bit more healthy and sticking around for a lot more of the season, especially when he's most needed towards down the stretch, right?
Yeah.
Anthony Davis, peak of his powers, is a DPOY candidate and a guy who I think can do a lot on both sides of the ball. I just think that Evan Mobley is what Anthony Davis is hybrided to 2.0. I think Evan Mobley is one more offensive jump away from literally blowing what Anthony Davis is right now out of the water. Like, I think that we're in a state now where there's an inflection point of who that elite rim protecting power forward is that also has the ability to stretch the floor, can put the ball on the floor and drive to the glass. A guy who's a good cutter at the power forward position. Like Evan Mobley coming off the DPOY feels like he's that guy that's taking the baton from Anthony Davis as that dude that can step up as your lead rim protector at the power forward position and also be that 20-10 caliber dude. I think he's one more offensive jump away from really stepping into that role that Anthony Davis once occupied as a top 2 power forward simply because of the two-way ability. I think Evan Mobley is right there. And I think the DPOY, mind you, TV, Anthony Davis never has won one. Just throwing that out there. Never has won a Defensive Player of the Year, despite the fact that he's been so elite as a rim protector for so many years. Evan Mobley got the job done as a guy that's still very youthful and has real offensive chops still left to get to. I think if you're already a DPOY and you've shown offensive spark with a chance to get better very, very soon, I'm gonna give the upside to the young fellow who seems like he's already slowly but surely stepping into the spotlight.
Interesting. Okay. Firstly, let me talk about Pascal Siakam because I know like we're going a little bit everywhere on this list. We both know who our number one is, but let me talk about Pascal Siakam because he's at my number 3, and I have Anthony Davis on my number 2.
Okay.
Pascal first. I understand, and this is coming from a Toronto Raptor fan who saw Pascal Siakam as a number 1. He's not number 1, but goddamn it, Jay, if he's not one of the best number 2s in the league, if he's not one of the best Swiss Army knives in the league, someone who can handle the ball, who can fit in, who can fill in as the number 2 or the number 3 on your team, at times at the number 1, like when you absolutely need him to. He is just the guy that every team wants, where he can just fit into so many different roles. He's a good 3-point shooter, one of the best cutters, one of the best guys in transition, can defend positions like 2 through 4, and he does it at an elite level, and we've seen it now deep into the playoffs where he even outperformed one Tyrese Halliburton in the conference finals and taking on that huge offensive load. And yes, he was feeding off of the energy that Tyrese Halliburton had, but he also brings the defensive intensity. He brings the communication. He brings all that extra stuff, and he freaking fights hard every single possession in terms of hustling. All the little stuff that you don't see on the box score, Siakam does that as well. Yeah. And you have to give him like all of the credit for that, being that Swiss Army knife. Yes, it's going to be hard for him to be the number 1 guy. I completely understand that, being this year in the Indiana Pacers. But having that all-around game, being able to get that shot whenever you need to, which I don't think this is why I have him kind of a bit over Evan Mobley. I know that the defense discrepancy is there, especially with the defensive impact that Evan Mobley has. Now, Pascal Siakam doing a bit of everything, including the playmaking, including all the little things. I still need to see Evan Mobley's game improve more on the offensive end before I give him like even more of the praise. But that's why I have Pascal Siakam slightly over him. Now, Anthony Davis, when we go into number 2, elite two-way ability. As much as I love Evan Mobley, and he did finish All-NBA second team this year, Anthony Davis, I know we got injured in his first game as a Dallas Maverick, which is really unfortunate on his part. And I will have to and I know throughout my list I've been docking points off of injuries and stuff. But the two-way ability that you said maybe is like kind of slowing down with AD, I think it's still like elite on both ends. And at his peak, even at his age, even at this point in his career, I still think I would. If we're going with a series overall, if we want to have both guys healthy, Evan Mobley and Anthony Davis, I still would trust Anthony Davis to be that better of a defender, that better of an offensive guy. And seeing him being able to have that all-around offensive game, still have a more refined 3-point shot, even though him and Mobley are not the best 3-point shooters overall, but having a more refined jumper, being able to get to the free throw line. Yes, the games played is obviously going to be a big part with AD. Literally, I was on Basketball Reference, and I saw one of his nicknames was Street Codes. I think that's absolutely foul for Anthony Davis. I know people call him that, but the fact that's on Basketball Reference is absolutely foul. But at the same time, the gap offensively between these top 2 guys and the rest of the list. Yeah. We're going to go to number 1 shortly. But the offensive gap and the fact that these 2 guys are still amongst, like the top 5 defenders in the league, top 3 at their absolute peak, I can't take away like that all-around talent that Anthony Davis has and what a number 1 guy has. And even though the games play might not be for Anthony Davis, I know people are going to start to favor Evan Mobley sooner rather than later. I think that all-around game, that two-way ability, is just too elite to ignore, even at this point in his career. Hopefully, he gets to play a lot more games with the Dallas Mavericks this year. They absolutely need it. But I think just that gap and the fact that he's just gone a bit better, especially compared to that post-championship run where he just kept getting injured, like it felt like all the time over there for the Lakers. Hopefully, he comes back stronger, and I hope it's more reminiscent of the 2023-2024 season rather than 24-25. I'm still having Anthony Davis as the clear number 2 here. But I understand like the Evan Mobley thinking, okay, he's going to take that big jump. He's still going to be a defensive player of the year. He's probably going to win more, Jay. I'm going to 100% agree with you. But I will defend Anthony Davis in this sense. He had to deal with freaking Draymond Green and Rudy Gobert all those years. It's. I feel like we're the deeper kind of pull in terms of that, where maybe those guys are slowly fading away from that discussion. But Anthony Davis, I think his two-way elite ability keeps him at the number 2 position. Maybe not for too much longer, but I still have him there.
That's fair. And I think maybe the games played aspect of it is the part that I'm leaning into the most. I mean, TV, you have to go back.
I get it.
You have to, like you said, if you go back through the stats, man, the dude, if we're going to use the old 60, if we're going to use the new 65 games All-NBA requirement rule, Anthony Davis throughout his career has only been All-NBA eligible 5 times in his entire career and has only been eligible for All-NBA once since leaving New Orleans. If we're going based off the new rules for All-NBA eligibility, Evan Mobley in 4 years in the NBA would be All-NBA eligible 3 of the 4 seasons he's played so far. I'm just saying, he's on really good pace not only to step into that lane as the next Anthony Davis type, but he's also a guy that's doing it with a much cleaner bill of health in the beginning of his career. Something that I think, like I said, we might be at an inflection point where either this season or an upcoming season very, very soon, there's a baton passing that's coming up very, very soon from Anthony Davis. And I think the guy he's going to be handing it to is Evan Mobley.
I really hope so, man. If he takes that next offensive jump, I will fully be on board with it. I just think that I don't know about that two-way ability, because even still, I still think the defensive capabilities of both guys, again, like I mentioned earlier, I still would even take the overall defensive skill set that Anthony Davis has even a bit over Evan Mobley at this very moment, at the peak of its powers. And then the offensive repertoire, a bit of a gap there. But if Evan Mobley continues to improve, I'll gladly eat crow, and he might even like become higher on my list as the season goes on. But as of right now, I still have Anthony Davis there. He's at my number 2. So go through our number 4 to 2 again. So I have Mobley at 4, Siakam at 2, Siakam at 3, AD at 2.
Yeah, and I had Pascal Siakam at 4, AD at 3, and Evan Mobley at 2.
Okay, so we have 5 the same, 4, 3, 2, just difference in order. But Jay, no need to delay this any further. Number 1 guy. I don't think it needs much of an introduction. We're going to talk about the Greek freak Giannis Antetokounmpo, who probably still a top 23 player in the league, probably still the best defender in the league, still an elite offensive player. What's there to say about Giannis, man? We know that he's the freaking top 3 MVP candidate every single year, and he hasn't. It's like it continues to go without fail.
Yeah, man. I mean, him and Jokic are in this pocket now where they just put up video game numbers and no one's impressed because they've seen it for so long. I mean, that's where we're at.
I was looking to, like, Jay, this is Giannis Antetokounmpo. I feel like no one talked about this at all last year. And this man averaged 30, 12, 6.5, 60% from the field on 61% effective field goal percentage at a 30.5 PER. And no one batted an eye.
Yeah,
because you have to think, this is Giannis, because this is just Giannis.
And you have to think too. You mentioned the 60+ percentage in terms of the 60+ percentage in terms of shooting from the field. You have to factor in that not just PER TV, but high usage, right? He's right there usage percentage wise with Nikola Jokic, with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who were the top 2 guys in that MVP race. He's right there from a usage perspective, and just as efficient from the field as both of those guys. I mean, it goes to show you that this guy plays a certain brand of basketball that's going to always keep him in the mix as a guy that's going to be a two-way freak. Yes, has he slowed down a bit defensively? Yes, compared to when he was winning DPOYs and things of that nature where we having that conversation about him. Yes, he's maybe not that guy necessarily anymore, but similar to the conversation you were saying about Anthony Davis. If the defense is elite, it's elite. How elite is when we start weighing them against other players in the same conversation. But is he still an elite level defender, especially at his position? Yes. And you pair that with the fact that, like you said, he's walking 30 and 12, and we're just unimpressed by the fact that he shoots 66% from the field.
And he's improved his mid-range jumper. People will hate to look at it, but almost 50% on mid-range jumpers last year, Jay. You know he's not shooting a 3-point shot as we've been asking for him for years, and we understand now he doesn't need to. I fully understand that.
Yeah.
But stepping it out a little bit, and he's still just as dominant as he is. Like that's just not going away with someone of his I know, pun intended, freakish build. So I definitely agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So Giannis just felt like an easy one kind of to like place here. Giannis, like no drum roll for that one really, because he's a guy that I feel like if you don't consider him as the top power forward in the game, either you're a lot higher on Evan Mobley or you're so low on the Milwaukee Bucks that you're looping Giannis in the mix with it. Because other than that, Giannis is the best power forward in the league right now, and I don't think he's going to lose that spot anytime soon.
Jay, he still has the argument to be the best player in the league. He has the argument. If you look at all-around game, and I know people will favor defense, and you still look at the playmaking capabilities, you still look at the dominance inside the paint, the numbers speak for itself with Giannis Antetokounmpo. He has the case to be the best player in the league. Does that matter when the Milwaukee Bucks have his second best player being possibly Kyle Kuzma? That's not up to him, you know? That's not up to him. I know he used to love Chris Middleton, but did he want to trade Chris Middleton for Kyle Kuzma? I don't know. That has to be in the future. But I mean, that's a question for Giannis, of course. But at the same time, he continues to be in that sort of sphere. We talk about Jokic, we put Shai Alexander in that mix. They're just in a bubble by themselves, Jay.
Yeah.
You can even put, I'll honestly put Luka in that mix as well. That bubble of just Luka, SGA, Giannis, and Jokic just are in a bubble by themselves. And you can't, it's hard to say that people touch them in this bubble.
Yeah.
Just because they've been that good. They've been doing it for so long. This is the crop of the best players in the league. And Giannis, even as he's getting older, some people are going to be like, oh, he's going to lose his athleticism, all that. He's not getting touched here. The stats are continuing to back it up. The dominance is continuing to back it up. And his defensive ability and doing all the little things, Jay. Out of all those four guys I mentioned, Giannis is going to jump on the floor. He's going to be doing all that. He's going to do all the little things. Giannis just plays every game like it's his freaking last. And the numbers are just insane every year. And it doesn't mean that even though we're just used to these numbers, that we can't appreciate them. And they're just insane. They're just absolutely insane. There's nothing else to say about it.
Yeah, Giannis is a lock here. I think our list was pretty good. I'm surprised that despite the fact that we both thought this list was so difficult, that we actually both were pretty much on the same page. Lockstep. Shout out to you, TV.
9 out of 10 the same names.
Yeah.
9 out of 10. Except for that number 10. And again, you'll see this year, guys. Scotty Barnes will prove you guys. And hopefully Zion can actually be Zion. I don't know how else to say it. Hopefully he can be Zion for a long period of time. Hopefully we can see what the Pelicans actually truly look like with Zion as the number one guy. Obviously with the less talent that he had in previous years, but we'll take any full year, Zion, man. Just give us. Can we first get 65 games out of Zion?
Yeah.
Can we just first get 65 games and then we can move from there? That's all I'm saying. So hopefully we can do that. And even if he continues to be as dominant as he was when playing less than 50 games per year, I'll be back on board. That's all. I just want to see the 65 games from Zion.